Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 52 of 2026. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on X at OBKiev. Follow us at the Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media / the Odds Breakers. This episode is being brought to you by FanDuel Sports, a proud partner with the NFL. If you'd like to support the Odds Breakers and benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, become a member, pick any of our winning cappers, get the premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on patreon.com. If nothing else, please visit the Odds Breakers and become a free Picks and Telegram subscriber. We have a great show for you today. The Open Championship, another major this weekend at Royal Birkdale in England. And we have a wonderful guest to break that down, a golf expert in Mr. Brady Kannon from Sportsline, Sports Grid, and golf.com. Real excited to talk to Brady about this amazing event here. I'm sure Brady will give us his best bets and some great long shots to take a look at for this tournament. And we're also going to talk some NFL. Full speed ahead with football, college football, and the NFL. Thinking 2 podcasts a week until we get to the regular season where we go 3 podcasts per week. So we're kind of ramping it up right now a little bit earlier. Looks like we are on track to have 110, 120 podcasts this year. Very happy about that. But I think people are getting an itch for football. I think the whole soccer craze is dying out a little bit. I think America's not in any danger of their main sports losing any market share to soccer after this whole FIFA World Cup fiasco. So I'm excited to move forward. I might watch the championship. Maybe I watch a little France versus Spain, but it's going to be kind of a background thing for me while I'm getting other things done. But more importantly, there is all kinds of value to be had when it comes to looking at these futures and win totals. They're still going to move. In the preseason, they're going to move. And I'm also going to be focused on the preseason, releasing our article on coaches and how they fare during the preseason. Some coaches care about winning. Some do not care at all, unless maybe it comes down to the fourth quarter. Sometimes they will try to win with whoever they have in. But there's a few coaches out there that are bangers for making money. And there's a few coaches that are bangers for fading. And we'll get into those details in the near future, in the upcoming weeks before the Hall of Fame game. So keep that in mind. I'll be preparing for that starting this week. You can also become a member at the Odds Breakers and get all of our premium plays with the promo code football26. Get $100 off any package, half off the first month of any membership if you want to team up with us and make some plays that have been tracked for years. And we are positive in college and NFL football. And if you want to just check sportscapping.com, they also keep my records up and you can see the successes that I've had handicapping these sports. So happy if you join in with us. It'd be helping us. Otherwise, like I said, every single week we are going to come up with great plays for you. And our TikTok is going to also have plays talking about props, which is probably the best market with the most value, especially when it comes to the NFL. Last weekend, I went to the MGM Grand just for Saturday. My wife was there, and my daughter was there for almost a week, and they were absolutely drained of energy. But it was a big dance competition. Also, the big McGregor versus Holloway fight. I had a great UFC weekend. We had Holloway inside the distance, and that was no sweat whatsoever. But, man, was there a lot of pissed off people that liked McGregor, pissed off Irish fans. I've just hearing them complain afterwards. And I was just thinking to myself, my God, how do you bet on this guy after 5 years of not fighting? And, of course, you don't say that to them because they're drunk and pissed off. You don't want to get in a fight. But it's just kind of walking by those people, you kind of shake your head a little bit. And you're like, Jesus, what inclination gives you to put money on something like that? I don't know. It's mind-blowing to me. McGregor really looks like he's aged. And the truth is, like I said, he only fought 4 times since 2016. It's not like he hasn't just fought in 5 years. The man has been retired since 2018 for me, in my mind. And maybe a little bit of a money grab, but he's going to probably come back and fight some bum again, and he's going to get people to watch because that's just the kind of draw that McGregor brings in. Paddy Pimblett is the biggest star, even though Justin Gaethje's the champion. Paddy Pimblett, fantastic chokeout. I had a personal play on that. I wish I did release that, but it kind of took me to the end to make that decision. So it was too late to release that as a premium play, so I'm not counting that. But everything else worked out wonderful in the UFC. All right, well, we have a lot to talk about with Brady Kannon, golf and NFL. So let's get into our wonderful guest, Mr. Brady Kannon from Sports Grid. $30 million in guaranteed prizes. Cash in this football season in Las Vegas with 3 Circa Sports contest entries starting at $1,000, all with no rake. Circa Million, 18 weeks of point spread action, 128 ways to win. Circa Survivor, pick one winner each week, last one standing wins. And Circa Grandissimo with $100,000 entry in over $4 million in guaranteed prizes. Enter in Nevada, play from anywhere. $30 million guaranteed. Visit circasports.com for details. Now I'm very pleased to welcome back a fantastic handicapper, an NFL contest winner in Brady Kannon, host of Sports Grid and a writer at CBS Sportsline and Golf.com. You can follow Brady on X at Las Vegas Golfer. Brady, you're on vacation last week. How was that? I mean, perfect time, obviously, this time of year to take vacations.
Absolutely. Get out of the Las Vegas heat and go lay by the beach for a while, and played a little golf myself, recharge the batteries and get ready for the final major of the year. One of my all-time favorites, the Open Championship. I can't wait. So we'll be watching golf in the middle of the night, the wee hours of the evening here for the next few days. And this is my wife's favorite week of the year, always, Kiev, because I get to sleep on the couch for 4 days.
Oh, there you go. Much more space. You can stretch out. You don't have to get elbows or anything, and you can't find the remote under your partner sleeping. No, I know how that goes, my friend. May I ask where you went by the ocean?
Hawaii.
Okay, well that's yes. A hell of a place. What a perfect vacation! Yes. Wow, that sounds wonderful. That's in one of our next destination lists. So we love it out there. We've done Maui, we've done Kauai, we have done the Honolulu. Never done the Big Island. So I want to do the Big Island. That's what I want to do.
Funny, I've never done the Big Island either. I've been to just about every one of them except for that one myself.
Well, there you go. We gotta get that one in the books. But here we are. Vacation time is still going on, but it's almost over because there's so much going on. But here we are. We got an amazing event. The final, the Open Championship in England at Royal Birkdale. Can you talk a little bit about Royal Birkdale and what this course has to offer?
Well, the last time we saw it was 2017, and it was a remarkable duel down the stretch, down the inward 9 between Matt Kuchar and Jordan Spieth. And Spieth had a couple miraculous shots down the stretch and pulled away in the end. And I remember that. I love Jordan Spieth, one of my favorite players, but I had a 40-1 ticket on Matt Kuchar.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. Story of our lives, Kiev. But that was a great Open Championship at Royal Birkdale. This is absolutely one of the very most classic golf courses that we see on the Open Rota. They call it one of the fairest tests of golf as far as all of the different courses in the Open rotation. It's in England, of course, in Southport, England, on the west coast of England on the Irish Sea. If you go across the Irish Sea, it's almost like dead even with Dublin, just north of Liverpool. Mm-hmm. And it is a seaside link. So, and it's interesting, the weather. There's not much moisture in the forecast at all. They're not expecting any rain. They haven't had any, uncharacteristically of this part of England. And the course, we've seen reports early this week, the course is already brown and crispy, and it is going to be running firm and fast, which is very interesting. And I think that makes for a very good championship. I think that puts more of a premium on driving accuracy, because if that ball is just hard pressed to come to a stop, it's likely to find its way into some of those pot bunkers and that nasty rough. And so I think precision off the tee is really going to be key. I don't think you're going to necessarily just be able to bomb it and hope for the best. It ought to be very interesting. I think any golf course tournament organizer and golf course setup manager, what have you, would prefer a championship to be firm and fast rather than wet and soft and that type of thing. So we're getting a great track. I think we're going to get great conditions. It'd be cool if the wind picked up a little bit. The wind is listed as moderate right now. Now, we are seaside, so that can change in a heartbeat, but it just looks like that typical seaside breeze, anywhere from about 5 to 20 miles an hour, which is good. If it's blowing a steady 15 miles an hour the entire time, that is going to test guys. They say that about 12 miles an hour is kind of the threshold where guys have to start to negotiate the wind as a part of their shot making and a part of their process. So, if we're kind of in the neighborhood of 10 to 20 miles an hour, I think that gives a nice little element to the whole equation. The fairways are very flat. It's not a lot of that mogul terrain that we're used to seeing for an Open Championship. But bordering the fairways, you have these massive sand dunes, anywhere from like 10 to 50 feet high. They create elevation change from tee to green, and they also create a tremendous viewing perspective for the audience. They can stand on top of these dunes and, look at all the action down below. But it's going to be fun. All these courses in the Open rotation, they're all a little bit different. The weather changes from year to year. But again, it is one of my absolute favorite championships, and I expect we're going to get another good one.
Yes, I mean, you want a little win to challenge these guys, because that gives the handicapper a little bit more thoughts, and obviously maybe find some more value in some guys that play good, well with the wind. I think maybe better way to beat the sports books and the market coming on in. So I get what you're saying on that, and that's just where it is. It's like it's a rainy place normally, and hasn't been raining there. So I find that interesting. And what's the temperature? Probably in the 70s, 80s, something like that.
Yeah. I think Thursday is actually supposed to hit 80 degrees, which, as you know, is pretty darn warm for England, especially a coastal location. But I think Thursday is supposed to be the warmest day, and then settling into like kind of the 73 neighborhood. So low to mid 70s, which again is pretty warm, for England. But looks like it'll be great for the spectators. It ought to be very comfortable weather to play in. Again, like you say, hopefully we get enough wind to make it interesting. But the firm and fast golf course, I think, will make things plenty interesting by itself.
Okay, I'm excited already. What are the key statistics that you look for when handicapping this course then?
Well, because, first of all, I talked about the relatively flat fairways and the dunes. The fairways are on the narrower side. They're not totally narrow, but they are, I would say, a little narrower than average. Okay, so just from the outset, I think driving accuracy trumps driving distance. But now you throw into the fact that we've got a very firm and fast golf course, and I think accuracy even takes more priority. Because if you're going to try and bomb it, who knows where that thing is going to land, because you just can't get the ball to stop. If you remember, I want to say it was 2006, we were at Hoy Lake, which is in nearby Liverpool. And Tiger Woods famously did not hit a bunker like the entire week, and was just hitting a 2-iron and a 3-wood and that type of thing off the tee all week. And I think it's going to be kind of a similar strategy here this week. So driving accuracy is something absolutely that I looked at. Strokes gained approach, you got to be great with the irons. And again, with this course being firm and fast, and also these greens being smaller than average size, precision is really going to be at a premium. I looked at hole proximity from 150 to 200 yards. That's kind of the bucket where most of these approach shots are going to come from. Scrambling, the short game will be incredibly important. And then so will putting and strokes gained putting on slow greens. As you know, Kiev, because of the wind we often get for the Open Championship, they keep these greens pretty slow because if they were fast like Augusta National and the wind kicks up, the ball wouldn't stop. So they have to keep these greens pretty slow. And, that kind of neutralizes a lot of things for the bad putters of the world. We've seen bad putters, win British Opens like Henrik Stenson. So putting becomes neutralized a little bit, but we've also seen at Open Championships at Royal Birkdale in the past that a guy who, and this is pretty much true of any golf tournament, really, a guy who finds a hot putter for 3 or 4 days usually finds himself at the top of the leaderboard.
Well, yeah, and the slower the green, the easier it is on the bad putter, like you mentioned. So,
right.
I think hitting that green strokes gained approach it makes a lot of sense to me. Obviously, if you're going to try to bomb them off the tee, that could be a very high variant. I'm not sure if maybe a DeChambeau would be something I want to look at unless he decides to change his game up a little bit.
Well, what's interesting, DeChambeau has not made a cut in a major championship yet this year. Wow. Missed it at the Masters, missed it at the PGA, missed it at the U.S. Open. And this is probably his worst major. And here's another one, for you. I bet DeChambeau to miss the cut last year at Royal Portrush, and I think it was about 4 or 5 to 1. He shoots a 78 the first day. I mean, he's practically dead last. And then he goes berserk and makes the cut like right on the number and another one of those bad beats we're talking about. But no, he would be a guy. I know this is a question you have here, a guy that you would fade, but DeChambeau is not going to be on my card this week. Again, I don't think the British Open is a major that really sets up well for his bomb and gouge type game. Yeah. He's not especially accurate off the tee. The approach play is not necessarily a strength of his, the scrambling. So, the U.S. or the majors that he's won, the U.S. Open, and he's contended at the PGA, those are probably the majors that are really, more dialed into his skill set, in my opinion. And then you've got all the distractions with the Live Tour, and, there's reports that he's changed equipment, and who knows what's going on with DeChambeau. But no, I'm leaning more towards the accurate short knockers rather than the big bombers.
All right, well, let's talk about the favorites in this tournament then. Who are the favorites and why?
Well, Scotty Scheffler, guess who, of course is your defending champion.
Sure.
And he is the favorite here once again. But this is about the highest price we've seen on Scotty in a minute.
I'm shocked. 6.8 to 1 is what you're getting on Scotty right now.
There's higher than that. I think here locally in Las Vegas at Westgate, he's about 7 to 1. I think at Circa, he's about plus 750. And, maybe there's even some 8s out there. Rory is in the neighborhood of I want to say 14 to 16. But, we're used to Scotty being 3 to 1 at a major championship. So it's almost 3 times that price. I was asking myself this question last night. What is the number when you say, okay, it's time to jump in on Scotty? I think at least 9. And if it got to double digits, that's probably a green light. But of course, the number is ultimately important, but will Scotty Scheffler win the British Open? I don't think he will. It just hasn't been Scotty Scheffler's year, not the Scotty Scheffler we're used to in the past couple of seasons, where he's winning 6 or 8 times per year, literally. He won once way back in January. He's finished runner-up a number of times, but it's just not what we've seen the last couple of seasons. And now you have this global field with, live players and European Tour stars and the 30 or 40 guys from the PGA Tour that are all, top players in the world. And he just doesn't seem to be as separated as he has been in the past couple of years. So, at some point they're going to throw a price up there where you go, okay, I have to get involved, but I probably won't be. And I don't know if we'll see that price. As I mentioned, McIlroy, the second choice. Matt Fitzpatrick is getting a lot of attention. He's down to about 15-1, maybe even shorter than Rory in some markets. John Rahm has kind of ballooned up to about 25-1. But those are really your handful of favorites there, Kiev. Again, from Scotty at around 7 or so, into the 20s for Rahm and stuff like that, and then after that it's 30 and higher.
Well, why would we bet Scotty right now when I feel like his first round has always been poor as of late? I feel like you might get a 10-1. Or something better if he's kind of in the middle, and drops back down after that first. You remember last year and the year before, it's like, oh, let's live bet Scotty. All of a sudden he's like 2-1, and he's like down. He's in fourth place. Like, we did not get the odds we wanted to do that with, right? And now maybe you do get a little bit better because of that situation where he has not been winning. So that's interesting. But I do want to ask you about Matt Fitzpatrick, because you're right. He is fourth, tied with Fleetwood here at our friends at FanDuel, 15-1 here. What's the deal with him? Is he just that good of an approach shooter?
He is. I believe he might be number one. He's top 3 on tour right now with his irons as far as strokes gained approach. He's just having a remarkable season. He was runner-up at the Canadian Open. I think it was third that he finished last week at the Scottish Open. He won the Valspar. He won the team event with his brother in New Orleans. He won the RBC Heritage at Harbour Town the week after the Masters. And I think Harbour Town is a golf course that absolutely correlates to success at Birkdale. I talked about Kuchar and Spieth. They've both won at Harbour Town, and those were the two combatants we saw the last time out here at Birkdale. Brandon Grace finished 6th that year. He's another guy that's won at Harbour Town. So, that kind of adds to the Matt Fitzpatrick resume, the fact that he's won a couple of times, I believe, at Harbour Town. And then just the red hot form. I can also tell you at BetMGM, he is one of the very most popular picks. He is number 2 in ticket count at BetMGM, and he is number 1 as far as their biggest liability at BetMGM. And that, for me, is always a red flag, Kiev. We talked about fading DeChambeau. It's really hard to say you dislike Fitzpatrick just because of how everything makes so much sense for him. But I'm not loving the overwhelming popularity and also the price dip as well.
Yeah, absolutely. When, there's a lot of momentum, players catch wind of that too, and that just adds like another pressure point to it.
Absolutely.
And especially these days with the legalization, where you're sitting at. Your friends are going to tell you no matter what, And it's a situation where the books move the number to the point you didn't get it. Now, if it was at 30-1 or 25-1, then you feel great about it. But now it's a market that I don't get get involved with either. The favorite, it's the favorite that's going to, I guess you call it the public maybe dog in a way. It's a situation where I almost want to be on Scotty, and he's 7.5-1 now. And so, I'll be watching these numbers here, but that makes sense. He's probably a top strokes gained approach to green. But what about some of the other, I would say, what are some of the favorites that you might want to get on, or not even necessarily favorites? Why don't you give me a couple arguments for some of the guys that you're going to bet on?
Well, I did go down the board just a little bit further, not a whole lot. I've got a lot of guys. I've got actually 6 outrights that are anywhere between like 30 and 50-1. So that's not complete long shots, I did want to mention about Fitzpatrick and Fleetwood too, especially. It's also interesting to note that, can you imagine if one of these guys is in the lead or near the lead on Sunday in England, they're Englishmen, and trying to win the British Open in front of that crowd, that's pretty incredible. And Tommy Fleetwood, I don't know if he missed the cut, but we talked a little bit about pressure and the load of, on your shoulders of being a favorite. Tommy Fleetwood grew up like down the street from this golf course, literally. So that is a lot of spotlight and attention. That
he just
that,
won too. He just won somewhere, didn't he?
Well, he won the Tour Championship last year. I mean, he's a fantastic player. He and Fitzpatrick are both remarkable, and they deserve to be up at the top of the board. But I don't know if Fleetwood feels like almost more of a stay away for me. Fitzpatrick's proven that he can win. He won 3 times this year already. Fleetwood has won less frequently, certainly on U.S. soil. But I think with that added pressure of being an Englishman, on your home turf, that is very, very difficult. I went a little further down the board to Ludwig Åberg.
Okay.
It's maybe not a play I would be thrilled with right now, but I bet him kind of preemptively, Kiev, about a month ago or so. I got him at 28, and you can now get him at like 35. Okay. But going into the Travelers Championship and then the Genesis, I thought he might win one of those, if not finish really well. And I thought his price would maybe drop. Turns out he didn't do very well at either of those tournaments, and his price has escalated. I think he's a contender no matter where he tees it up. He's done well at Harbor Town. Another correlated course for me is Sea Island in Georgia, where they play the RSM Classic. It's flat fairways and sand dunes and coastal location and wind. It's similar in that sense. And that's where Ludwig Åberg earned his very first PGA Tour win in 2023. So, I mean, he's brilliant off the tee. He's very good. He's a good putter on slow greens. I think he's got as good a chance as anybody. It just feels like his form might be a little off. He was red hot. You go back 6, 7, 8 starts ago, and he had like 3 top 10s in a row. So that's not that far removed, but he has cooled off as of late. I added the last play I added was just a few days ago. Justin Rose, the old Englishman. Talk about a guy that would be quite a story, right? I mean, Kiev, you probably remember this. In 1998, 17-year-old amateur Justin Rose chips in on the 18th green to finish 4th at Royal Birkdale. That's when he really burst on the scene. He's now 45 years old, and you could argue he's playing the best golf of his life. I mean, the guy last 2 years has finished 2nd and 3rd at the Masters. He's finished runner-up at the British Open 2 years ago at Royal Troon, which I think is another course that correlates. He's won at Colonial, which I believe is correlated. He's won at TPC Southwind just last year. He's won at Pebble Beach. He checks a lot of boxes for me, Kiev. And, I mean, I got him at 32, and I would say, God, if you could get 40 on Justin Rose, I think that's a terrific price. I'm okay with 35. I think 35 or better is great. I think he's got a real shot once again. He's even said it, that he is focusing so much more on the big events, and it shows in his results. The guy shows up for the big boy tournaments, the majors specifically, and I think he's got another opportunity here. One of those guys that's great with the long iron play, accurate off the tee. I played another Englishman at 35-1, Tyrrell Hatton, who just won recently on the Live circuit. Number 1 in this field over the last 36 rounds, number 1 in this field for strokes gained putting on slow greens. Accurate off the tee, great on approach, again, checks a number of boxes. And then the other short shot I played was Colin Morikawa, my neighbor here in Las Vegas, who, won at Pebble Beach earlier this year. And I think we've seen, if you look at the list of winners at Royal Birkdale at the Open Championship, Tom Watson, Johnny Miller, Marco Mira, Jordan Spieth, all of those guys have won at Pebble Beach. So I think that is kind of a good little connection right there. We saw Morikawa win at Pebble Beach earlier this season. Then he injured himself. and he really hasn't been the same, even though he's had really good finishes. And now I think we're getting him back to 100% healthy.
Yeah.
He won the Open Championship in 2021. So those are some of the shorter shots: Rose, Oberg, Morikawa, and Hatton.
And you wonder, because England's still in the World Cup, if there's a little bit of added, something. I don't know if you call it pressure, but it's kind of like,
I wrote that today.
Nice.
I said we could have England win this Sunday in America, and we could have an American win in England this Sunday. Right?
That would be funny. America needs some love after that Belgium game. So why not?
Ooh.
I don't want to bring any of that up.
That was not pretty.
That was not pretty. All right. So Ludwig Eberg, I just destroyed his last name. Justin Rose, Tyrrell Hatton, and Colin Morikawa. As long as Colin's back's better, I think that's what you're kind of hoping for on that. So that's interesting. You got a little bit of a mix there with some U.S. and some British, or U.K., I should say, golfers. Funny. Rory's is Northern Ireland different than Ireland? I don't even know. I see different flags.
They are technically different countries. Yeah. I'm not an expert on why or how or what.
Yeah, right.
It just makes differentiating the two more difficult for us over here in the States. It feels like I should just say he's an Irishman. I guess he is.
Yeah, Irishman. It's the politics. Come on. Yeah, this looks like this split it up a little bit. I see the demarcation mark right there. So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great. I'm going to look at some of these guys. I'm in a few, not survivors, but tournaments. I'm going to play in this, so that's going to be some fun. And I wrote some of these down. Anyone you want looking to fade, maybe in matchups or anything like that?
Well, I mentioned DeChambeau, and I didn't. I had the hardest time finding any matchups that I liked. Kiev. Fitzpatrick is another guy that I don't like where he's gone as far as the price. Let me find this here. I wrote this down. Okay. I just matchups that's where I typically like to risk the most. That's where you have the best chance to win.
Right.
We're talking about who's going to win the outright market. That's a needle in a haystack. It's very difficult. That's where I have the lowest amount of risk. I will put a little bit more risk on finishing positions. These guys I've talked about, Morikawa, I'll have them for top 20, top 30,
Sure.
top 40, something like that, wherever I feel the price is right. But the matchups is really where you try and make some money. And I looked at Rahm over Schauffele. I'm not sure I want to go there. I looked at Daniel Berger over Gary Woodland. Nick Taylor over Alex Smalley, Tyrrell Hatton over Victor Hovland, Oberg over Robert McIntyre, Ricky Fowler over Christopher Raitan, and Jordan Smith over Victor Perez. And I mean, they all kind of spoke to me in one way or another, and I just couldn't hit submit. I couldn't pull the trigger for one reason or another. So I'm struggling with where to go right now as far as head-to-head matchups. And sometimes the best bet we make is the one we don't, right?
Right.
It would be rare for me to have no head-to-head matchups. A. B, it would be extremely rare for me to have no matchups for a major championship, but I haven't been able to find one yet. So, that I guess that is unfinished business at this point, but DeChambeau is certainly a guy that I would look to go against. Maybe you bet him to miss the cut. That seems too easy. That seems like the obvious one because he's already missed the cut in every major this year. And how that goes. That means he's going to make the cut this time, right? So, and then Fitzpatrick, I wouldn't expect him to do poorly. I just think the price has gotten a little bit carried away combined with his popularity. So, I'm sorry I don't have a better answer.
No, that's fine.
I haven't been able to find any matchups.
Well, DeChambeau is favored -126 to Spaeth -104, but these are heavily juiced numbers. Obviously, these are 115 across.
DeChambeau's favored over Spieth.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd probably play Spieth there. I think I saw that matchup earlier today. Spieth is hard to figure out. The guy has played pretty darn well, and he will tell you that he is playing as well as he has in a long time. He just hasn't been able to hole any putts. And You wonder if he'll be able to find that cup this week. If he does, he's probably going to be right there. And so I don't mind taking a little
slower green.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do it.
And his numbers getting high too. And DeChambeau, you can find as high as like 70-1 to win this thing now.
So,
and Spieth is in the neighborhood of like 85 or 90. So, are either of these guys going to win it? Probably not. But I would probably take Spieth over DeChambeau head to head.
Yeah, the other one's Reed at -136 over DeChambeau plus 110. And that's our friends at FanDuel that has that. But Reed is definitely more
I'd probably
favored.
play Reed again. Yeah. I don't know if I love the price, but I certainly prefer Reed over DeChambeau.
Yeah, it's funny. You look at Reed, he's 63-1 to win this. And then DeChambeau is 56-1 on the same, or no, a different site. But it's funny. It's like I'm paying juice for Reed, who's not even favored to win, to beat in a matchup. That's how much people must be fading DeChambeau right now. It's blowing my mind.
And I think the odds makers are too. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that this guy was 30-1, and his price just keeps creeping up with the reports we hear about equipment changes and the distractions. And is he gonna apply to come back to the PGA Tour? Is he gonna just do YouTube the rest of his life? You know what?
No, I don't know.
And having missed 3 cuts already in every major, that the storyline just continues to build on why to go against this guy. And like I say, we've seen that price go from about 25 or 30-1 all the way to as high as 70-1.
Absolutely. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. So there you go. You answered that. You kind of told us what you're putting on your ticket. Also with, Aberg, Rose, Hatton, and Morikawa. I don't know if I'm missing anybody on that.
Yeah, I've got a couple more. So those were my shorter shots. Let me see here.
Yeah, let's get some sleepers here. Let's get some.
Yeah. You mentioned that. That was one of your questions. So as far as sleepers, and this guy's kind of no longer a sleeper, but Siwoo Kim, I got him at 80-1. That price is long gone. He has finished top 10 in his last 3 starts, including another top 10 last week at the Scottish Open. He's never done well at the Open Championship in his career, but he is definitely having the best year of his career this year. He's now got 9 top 10 finishes this season. He finished 3rd at Harbour Town. He's won at the Sony Open. He's done well at all the he has the game that absolutely makes sense for this golf course. Okay. Now, is that going to translate? The putter's always been his weak spot, and yet he putted lights out last week in Scotland. So, I mean, if the putter fires for Siwoo again, I think he has another great week. I love 80-1. I've seen him as low as 45. I think anything 50-1 or better is a good shot with Siwoo. Shane Lowry, who I've seen now as high as 60-1. This guy won the Open Championship in 2019. And you mentioned it earlier, Kiev. Shane Lowry is arguably the best wind player in the world. If the wind kicks up, he's not a bad guy to have on your card at 50 or 60-1. Great iron player, magic short game. He hasn't been able to win since that Open Championship in 2019. But again, I thought it was very interesting that not long ago he was priced at 40-1. I think the odds makers know that anytime you have the tournament called Open Championship, he's a contender. He's a links golf specialist. And then a couple of other long bombs, triple digits. Harris English at 100-1, finished runner-up to Scotty Scheffler at Portrush last year, and Ben Griffin also at 100-1. Now, English has a decorated career in majors, a number of top 10s, a really, really good player. Ben Griffin, a younger kid who is 0 for 3. He's never made a cut at an Open Championship, but it's kind of like what I talked about with Siwoo. Mm-hmm. He's won at Colonial. He makes a lot of sense for this golf course. So at triple digits, 100-1, sure, why not? I'll take a stab.
Well, there you have it, man. Good calls. A couple 100-1s in there with English and Griffin. I love it. I wrote it all down. I'll be looking at that. what a fantastic event it's going to be. And I'm sure you'll be tweeting about it, Brady. Make sure you're following Brady at Las Vegas Golfer. But now we got to turn the page to the NFL a little bit. You're a contest winner. I always see you at the Circa when I come up there. I'm guessing you're doing your show again, which is a great show with the boys. And I'm excited to talk a little NFL with you. I know it's still a little early, but, I made some plays. Let's just go division by division. Just tell me if there's anything you like or just want to pass. We'll start with the NFC North. You got, the Lions there kind of flipped to the favorite here, and even though they came up last in the division last year, and then you have the Packers and the Bears and obviously the Vikings at the bottom. What do you like there?
My initial reaction is the Lions. I think you have a worst to first type situation here. They played a very difficult schedule last year. The schedule gets easier for them this year because they have that last place schedule in front of them. I don't expect much out of the Minnesota Vikings. I would expect the Bears to regress a little bit just because they were so good last year. They exceeded expectations last year. Ben Johnson did a tremendous job. I still think they'll be fine, but I just don't expect them to necessarily win the division again. The Packers will still be the Packers. They'll be fine, but I think the Lions deserve to be the favorite in that division, and I kind of like their chances to get back to what we've been used to out of seeing with the Lions the last couple of seasons. They were also just, maybe number one in the league as far as injuries last year. They were really banged up.
They lost a bunch, and that's how it happens sometimes. But Lions plus 180, I get it. I totally get it. I like the Vikings a little bit to make the playoffs at a good plus money. I just think that this division is kind of up in the air. Let's go to the NFC South. You have the Buccaneers are the favorite. Then you have the Saints, number 2. The Panthers are number 3, and the Falcons are number 4.
This one is really hard, and it's such a weird division anyway.
It's a very weird division.
Last year they had I think the Saints could be something to think about. They had a nice season last year, surprised a lot of people in a couple of instances, showed some signs of life, really put forth some effort, I thought. I understand the Buccaneers being the favorite. You lose Mike Evans there. No real feeling where I'm headed in that one, Kiev.
Absolutely. So, the thing I don't like about the Saints is I believe they beat a bunch of bad teams when they ran on that run and injured teams. And Shuck showed good, but they're usually losing by a pretty decent amount when against some pre-vet defense. I like the Falcons. I think the Falcons being in last with now you have a new coach there, and you have Bijan Robinson. You have 2 proven quarterbacks. 2 is proven. They
have so much talent. They should have been good for the last handful of years.
Mm-hmm. Now that the new coach,
will it finally come through? Yeah, no, I can't argue with you.
Yeah, and
who's is it Stefanski?
Yeah, Kevin Stefanski came in from Cleveland.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah,
I like him.
Yeah, he's definitely an upgrade over Raheem Morris, so I certainly like that.
Oh yeah.
Real quick, Oven Fresh wants to know. Loves your hair, first of all. He's got it all slicked back here. Little Robert De Niro style is what I kind of like. There you go. Brady De Niro. So Matthew Baldwin, he's top 10 in driving accuracy and top 40 in, I don't know exactly what stats those are, the GIR and DP Tour.
Greens and regulation.
Oh, greens and regulation. There you go. Thank you. So my golf knowledge isn't nearly what your guys' are. I just know how to kind of slice the ball when I'm out there hacking it up. But he's plus 235 just to make the cut. So it seems like a pretty interesting price. Plus 235.
I don't know if he's going to be the very first guy, but he's in the very first group to tee off on Thursday morning. And I think that can be a good thing. Oftentimes that's a good way to avoid the wind. Now that means he's going to tee off late on Friday. It doesn't look like, at least right now, it doesn't look like there's going to be a draw bias where, you're really up against it if you tee off at one certain time on Friday or Thursday. But no, plus 235 to make the cut. I wouldn't get too aggressive with him, but I think that's okay. There's a lot of these guys. There's so many guys. We kind of touched on it earlier. These random Europeans in this field that a lot of us have never heard of. And you got to do your homework. And some of them absolutely, the odds makers haven't necessarily heard a lot of these guys either.
Yeah.
So, I think that's good.
On the under $3 menu at McDonald's, the sausage burrito is $2. So dip, drizzle, or douse to your heart's desire. Because no matter how you sauce your sausage burrito, it's still just $2 with McValue.
Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher for delivery.
Research on this guy, on Baldwin, and it makes sense. I wouldn't get a whole lot more aggressive with that. There's a reason he's teeing off first, because not as much is expected out of him. They put the prime guy, the big guys on in prime time, but no, I think you could find worse plays on the board. Sure.
All right. And sometimes, questions come in late. So pivoting back to the NFL, NFC East, NFC East, got the Eagles there, obviously a recent Super Bowl winner. They're the favorites at the plus 115, but then you have the Cowboys, who improved their defense through the draft. Then you have the Commanders. We can't forget about Jaden Daniels. And then you have the New York Giants at plus 600.
I don't think the Cowboys are a bad shot to take here. And I rarely say that because it usually comes with a great deal of off-season fanfare. The Cowboys, America's team, and everybody wants to bet them to win the Super Bowl. It seems like there's not that buzz this year, and everybody's, it's like they've finally given up on the Cowboys, and that, how it is in sports betting. Yeah. That's the time to jump on them.
It is.
I don't, are the Giants going to be improved under Harbaugh? Probably. You would hope that the Commanders kind of get back to where they were in Jaden Daniels' rookie year, because they were so exciting, and regression was to be expected in their follow-up year. And a lot of times regression is coupled with injury, and unfortunately that's what we saw out of Washington. But I think the team that's kind of under the radar is Dallas. And I said this on another show recently, Kiev. I think Brian Schottenheimer, I liked him last year. He seemed like the first Cowboy coach that didn't succumb to the spotlight and didn't seem like he was Jerry's puppet. I liked his demeanor on the sidelines. You talked about the improvement on defense. I thought the Micah Parsons trade, they were able to get certainly some good items out of that deal with the Packers. So it feels like Dallas is a little bit under the radar to me in that division.
Absolutely. It could be Dallas. I actually just bet the Giants to make the playoffs. I got a great number at like plus 380, but it's down to plus 250. I still kind of like it. I just think that they improved a lot too. And I like the camaraderie with Jackson Dart and Scadaboo. And, you just got to get those receivers back and healthy. So I kind of like that. But no disagreement here. And Matt Eberflus certainly took a lot of pressure off Schottenheimer, because this is such a bad defense. All the eyes kind of went to him last year, but he's not there now. So this could be definitely a big improvement year. I bet you he wishes he was there after that draft. So that would have a little bit more fair for him. But hey, I seen him enough on the Bears. NFC West, we got the best division in football, and it's probably not even that close. I mean, the Rams plus 100, the Seahawks plus 205, the Niners are plus 305, and the Arizona Cardinals 100-1. Now, I'm just going to say that I don't like the numbers on the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Niners. I mean, the Niners at 3-1. If every single team was equal, that's the price, 3-1. But you got the third favorite at 3-1. I'm just not there, man. I think the Rams probably win it, but it wouldn't shock me if Seattle does.
and I'll go one further and say I think the Niners are under the radar.
Yeah,
you've got the Super Bowl champ, and then all the offseason fanfare, Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald and the Rams and the Rams and the Rams. Well, meanwhile, the Niners are pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And we talked about Mike Evans earlier and Christian Kirk coming into that Kyle Shanahan offense. You've got a healthy Christian McCaffrey. We talked about Raheem Morris as well. I've never liked him as a head coach, but I think he will be just fine running that defense now for San Francisco. I think they may have made some decent draft picks. The running back, I can't remember his name.
Christian McCaffrey?
Well, no, it's who they drafted to be his backup.
The draft. So I know they got rid of Robinson. He was a pretty good backup last year, but they did draft somebody. I'll pull it up real quick.
It's like Jordan Young or something like that. I think he's going to be a pleasant surprise. I think they're a good club. And, Trent Williams is around for another year. Brock Purdy, another year more mature. This guy's really good.
Kaylon Black from Indiana. Indiana. He was really good there.
I think this kid's pretty good. He could be a great substitute for Christian McCaffrey. Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver. Hopefully he stays healthy this year. I think he is a big piece to that puzzle. Great possession receiver. The whole Brandon Ayuk situation, Juwan Jennings, they're gone, which I think is fine. So I actually made a play on the Niners to win the NFC at 10-1, and they have since been bet down. It's like 7-1 now, which I found very interesting with all the fanfare around the Rams and, of course, the defending Super Bowl champions residing in that same division. So again, it feels like I understand exactly what you're saying. Do I want to bet San Francisco at 3-1 to win the division? Not really. But 10-1 felt like a good number to me to win the conference. And it feels like, as funny as it is to say, it feels like they're kind of under the radar in that division.
Well, it's not, and I like the conference angle more because I think the number one seed of the playoffs is coming out of that division. So if you're going to have the number one seed, just the way the NFL's been, that's been your Super Bowl representative, minus what happened to a quarterback last year in the AFC, like we saw with Denver. But that was Denver beats the Patriots if Bo Nix plays that game. So absolutely love it. That makes way more sense. And it's funny, you have to lay juice for them to make the playoffs, and they're the third team to win the division. I just find that funny. How strong this division is blows my mind. AFC North, obviously, the Ravens are still at number one. I'm not a fan of them this year. You got the Bengals at number 2 at plus 194, Steelers plus 510 without a coach that we know so well, and the Browns 21-1.
Yeah, I don't know what to do here, Kiev, but it feels like there's a lot of off-season love for the Bengals. And, Joe Burrow's fantastic, and so is Jamar Chase. I think there's still offensive line issues. They lose Trey Hendrickson. And one of my biggest question marks, Kiev, is Zach Taylor. I don't think this guy's a very good coach. So no, I'm not really on board with Cincinnati and a lot of this offseason love that I'm seeing.
He's not a good coach, but I bet Cincinnati to win the AFC at like 15-1 right when the odds came out in like March or April. Now it's changed, obviously. They're way down there. I have them over 30-1 to win the Super Bowl. But here's the thing. That is my biggest fear is Zach Taylor. I think he's a bad coach. I'm not sure if they fixed their offensive line enough. I did like that they focused on the defense, but man, that Trey Hendrickson situation was such a freaking mess last year. It's like them and Micah Parsons sure knew how to piss off their best edge rushers on defense. Not a great thing you want to do.
I'm also curious to see, I think I kind of feel like the ceiling is high for the guy, Jesse Minter, the new head coach of the Ravens. He obviously at Michigan, I thought he did a good job with the Chargers. I like his resume. We'll see if that translates into the position of head coach, but it feels like a good fit to me.
It does, and it's weird that he's been with both Harbaughs for so long because he was with John doing a defensive linebacker coach or something like that in the 2017s with the Ravens too. So they wanted to get Harbaugh worn out his welcome, but they wanted to get a guy that kind of knew the team. So that could work out well. Yeah. We'll just see how Lamar adjusts to a new play caller too that came from the Ben Johnson tree. I'm drawing a blank, but they have a new offense coordinator, obviously, clearly because of the new coaching staff. So we'll see how that adapts. Interesting coming from that Ben Johnson tree this year. AFC South, and this is a division where I'm very confused as well because it would not shock me if the Jaguars, the Texans, or the Colts win it this year. I'm a closet Jaguars apologist, I guess, because I've been on them for years, and they finally make the playoffs, and I thought their coach maybe should have got coach of the year, but nope, they shit the bed in the playoffs with that interception. It's like you had them and you had to do that. But the Titans improved, but I'm probably staying away from this division a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of like the NFC South, right? It's a lot of mediocrity, if not worse. The Texans, I know they made the postseason last year, but my God, was that ugly. In what C.J. Stroud was just, throwing the ball away and into harm's way. And I just, and I've seen some people that expect them to bounce back. And it's like, God, I don't know, man. Defense is absolutely for real. And I love what DeMeco Ryans has done with that defensive unit for Houston. I'm not sure if the offense is there. They've have all these tremendous weapons at wide receiver, but they're always getting hurt. And with what I saw with C.J. Stroud, he made a big splash, obviously, as a rookie, but he did not look. He was not impressive at all, I don't think, last year.
No, but they at least fixed their offensive line. They really focused on it, and that was a terrible offensive line. So that kind of gives me some promise. But Tank Dell is never healthy. Nico Collins is always complaining. I don't like that. So I get what you're saying, and that's what makes it. We're both saying the same things, really. I think we both are kind of scratching our heads on this one.
And I'd be with you that Jacksonville feels like the class of the division. I think Liam Cohen is a good coach. I still believe in Trevor Lawrence. I think he is a great athlete, and I think he has the capabilities of getting the job done. But yeah, no strong opinion.
Yeah, I think maybe I did put something on the Jaguars. Maybe it was to make the playoffs. Now I'm reminded. It's funny. It's like sometimes the most obvious thing is just sitting right there. It's like it just might be them again. And Liam Cohen did a fantastic job. And thanks for the update, Super Saiyan Redby. Looks like Spain defeats France. So I'm not so happy about. That doesn't make me so bad then about losing my Survivor last week. Last weekend, I was about one of 350 people out of 4,000 left, but I had to pick Switzerland to beat Argentina, and of course, red card later. And and then now I would have picked. I would have burned Spain because I had Spain burned against Belgium. So whoever's winning that thing's gonna make a little money. It looks like. Next, we have the NFC or AFC East. Let's look at the AFC East here and. No drama in this division.
No, not at all. Is there an off-season story going on or two in the AFC East or five? I tell you, Kiev, that I really, it's, we love the NFL. We love to bet on the NFL. But, boy, this Rossini Vrabel stuff and Robert Kraft, and I'm telling you, Mark Schlereth came out and said, he feels like the NFL is scared to have any of some of this, whatever it is, be exposed.
Someone knows something.
Someone knows something. And I think the Rossini Vrabel thing is basically irrelevant. That's just part of what is a world of minutia, I believe, that lies underneath. I think there's all kinds of crap going on, and that's not any different from a number of corporations like we have across America, let alone our own government. So this discussion can go in a whole different direction here, but it feels like there's no doubt about it that there is some corruption going on, and it feels like the Patriots and the Vrabel Rossini thing is kind of the tip of the iceberg here. I hope I hope there are some consequences. Just because you and I, this is a huge part of our livelihood, not just the betting, but podcasts and content and writing. And part of what we are vested in is getting an honest product. And I don't want to find out that our product is, they use the word scripted and compromised. I don't know. The stuff going on, it feels like there's a lot to be questioned about as far as integrity.
And you follow me on X, and you've seen my complaints for years, and I feel embarrassed that I do it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I feel like there's people that probably unfollow me because of it and stuff like that, but I feel like it's starting to get more eyes now, and maybe I'm starting to feel a little bit more justified because there is some really smelly shit happening in professional sports.
It's a shame.
Organization. It's not just the NFL. I think FIFA's feeling it.
Gosh.
And baseball is my worst. Like, I don't love betting baseball. I do it because I'm semi okay with it, and it's more of a pastime for me in the summer. But man, did they fix that thing with the ABS? And it's like, why? It's like the fact that the NFL is not making moves like this. It's just looking.
It feels
too
like
shady.
baseball's the purest thing going right now, doesn't it?
Golf is, but baseball's
Golf,
too.
sure.
Baseball's
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and you and I both adore college football, and that was always something we felt was innocent and pure. And money's the root of all evil, right?
Right, it is.
So now college football is kind of going that direction as well. I hope, God forbid, that it doesn't go down that road. But you're right, the NFL, man, I'm telling you, it's getting smellier and smellier.
And I think and we can have a show on this, but I think it comes down from the networks too. I think the networks are also part of that thugness because there's like millions.
It's a billionaires boys club.
It's millions
that are
to
trying
billions.
to orchestrate all
people are like,
this stuff.
oh, Vegas. Vegas is it's pennies
They just
on
put
the
up the
thousands.
price.
Yeah, it's like just those are breadcrumbs. With what goes on with the betting. Like the networks are the millions and billions of dollar deals. This is they want this team to look good. That's what I've always believed. But I hope more shit comes out. I want this fixed because
I do too.
It's my favorite
because
sport.
I would like to see some checks and balances.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like.
Me
to see.
too.
Because again, like I say, you and I spend a lot of time year in and year out trusting that we're getting an honest product.
Yes, and it feels like a waste of time to talk about it if we don't. But the Bills. I did bet the Bills to win the division.
Good for you.
Good
bet.
At -125, and it's still there. I think that's the fine. That's
I might
the
need
most
to do that
obvious
after
bet.
this show.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the rest of the division stinks, and on top of that, I bet the Patriots under their season win total of 10. We know, obviously, we've talked about it here, the distractions going on. But everything else lines up for them to regress as well. It's not only their schedule gets much more difficult, but they're the Super Bowl loser. That famous hangover following up the Super Bowl loss never seems to escape anybody.
Right.
I think they're really set up to fail this year.
Absolutely. I mean, under all day, this was a historically easy schedule that they had. Historically, it's not even close to the second place, and
Seattle just wiped the mat with them.
It was
I mean, it
embarrassing.
exposed that the Seahawks or the Patriots weren't that good. So I just don't think what they did last year is any way repeatable.
It's not sustainable, especially in a Super Bowl hangover situation. And Drake, let's fade them and get on the Bills, and we'll finish out here with the NFC or the AFC West, which is another cluster F, if you know what I'm talking about, because. I mean, you got your Mahomes, and it's hard to bet against the guy. He's finally plus 160, and this could go with the whole narrative stuff we've been talking about. But then you got the Chargers, who's got a healthy offensive line. That's what happened to them last year. They lost their offensive line. Yeah, then you got the Denver Broncos, who are, they made the Super Bowl last year, and sure, they were a little bit fugazi with their Pythagorean win total, but it's not like it was down to 9. It was, the Pythag took them from 14 wins to 11.5. And I'm looking at a win total of 9.5. I went over with the Broncos. And because I just think that that's an over adjustment by the market. And the Raiders are just going to be up and coming.
I think that's all well said. Now, I think 9.5 is probably an over adjustment on the Denver Broncos, but I don't think they're a bad team to fade this year because they exceeded expectations by so much last year. I mean, geez, I think their win total last year was 8.5, and they absolutely crushed that. So I do think they will come back to the pack for sure. Let's hope the Chargers just remain healthy because it sure would be fun to see this team do something. And I think it's really interesting that Mike McDaniel comes in there to run this offense. That ought to be fascinating. Harbaugh and McDaniel, both former 49er guys. You could argue you have a couple of the best in the business. Harbaugh defensively as a head coach, McDaniel as a whiz kid with the offensive mind. I know we didn't really see it come to fruition in Miami, but I think that's a really interesting dynamic. I think they have a great chance to contend. I think Kansas City will be back. We gave them a couple of years where they weren't good. They weren't good last year. They weren't good the year before when they won the Super Bowl, for God's sakes.
Right.
And now they may have their ducks in a row once again, Mahomes healthy and all that good stuff. And the Raiders, I think, will be better. I thought they would be improved, and I was absolutely mistaken. Pete Carroll, not the answer. But let's hope Kubiak is. I think this guy is a good young mind. He's surrounded himself with, I think, really good pieces in this organization. I just hope that this organization is on the rebound after so many years of being, in the toilet. Yeah. I do believe they will be better. But Denver's the team that I think I like your theory there on the over adjustment. I think we can both be right. They can win 10 games and possibly still miss the playoffs.
Or you can ATS. They could be an ATS loser because they'll still be favored in a lot. Here's the good thing for them. Look at this first place schedule in the AFC. You're getting the Steelers. You're getting the Patriots. Mm-hmm. Well, they have to play that division anyway. But in general is kind of what I'm saying. And then you're getting Jacksonville, which is kind of in the same mix. Like I said, it's like I do like Jacksonville, but you're getting them at home, and it's in the same mix. Your only tough one is Seattle at home that you get for your at-large game at the against the NFC. So yeah, I think we both can be right over 9.5, and they could still miss the playoffs at 10, or you can just game to game, bet them in bad spots. I totally agree with that.
I think they'll be inflated a little bit to begin with, just off of what they did last year.
Yeah, especially, and I think they do beat the Chiefs that first game, Monday Night Football game, because Mahomes might not even be back, and even if he is back, that could be better. He's not ready, but then you'll get some overinflation because of that. So we'll see what that line is. It's probably out now, actually, but I am curious, how long Mahomes is going to be out. I don't think he can start the year, right? Am I missing something?
Well, I'll be honest with you here. I have only dived into the NFL superficially in the last month or so. Mm-hmm. So I haven't gotten knee deep into the weeds yet on what his status is and all that and the other. So I can't give you a great answer on that. Bo Nix, his health too. I mean, as far as I know, he's going to be playing in that week 1 opener, but I really don't know what the current diagnosis of either one of their health is right now.
Right. And it's still, and I'm kind of looking it up as you're talking. It's not, nobody's releasing any information here. I guess quarterback, as long as you're not taking off running a lot, you're a little bit safer. But I think it'd be nuts to not hold them out the first 4 games. So it was a torn ACL paired with an LCL injury.
And it was kind of late in the season too, right?
It was December. Yeah,
so
it was definitely late in the season here. You can literally get the Broncos as a dog. I'm going to definitely relook at that. And what you guys should be looking at is this man, Brady Kannon, one of the best out there that I know. I'm so excited to see you in Vegas in a month, Brady. Let our listeners know where they can get your wonderful information.
Thank you so much. Good to be with you again. Once again, my friend, covering a golf major here, the last one of the year. I'm really excited to, like I say, sleep on the couch for 3 or 4 nights this week. But my Twitter handle, as you mentioned, at Las Vegas Golfer, everything is there. My stuff with CBS Sportsline, my stuff with golf.com. And then, of course, I'll be on Sports Grid this weekend as well.
Make sure you follow Brady. He'll be on his couch. You'll be ready to make a few bets. Want to become a better? Want to get on a path to handicapping professionally? Start by tracking every pick with full transparency using the odds breakers partnered with TallySight. These platforms verify your record, grade every play, and showcase long-term performance so you can build real credibility, not just screenshots and hindsight claims. If you're serious about leveling up, proving your edge, and establishing yourself as a professional handicapper, this is where your reputation begins. Just go to theoddsbreakers.com and click on live odds /pick tracking to get started. Join us in your handicapping journey. All right. Well, great job to Brady as usual. Always professional and always some of the best golf and NFL insights available. Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you have any questions, feel free to tweet us at The Oddsbreakers. Email us at info@theoddsbreakers.com. We'll be back for more college football with Joshua Nunn on our next episode. Have a wonderful rest of your night and go get some winners. If you live outside of Nevada, make sure you go to footballcontest.com so they can enter all of your picks on time for every single football contest in the state that you enter. Use the promo code OB for $50 off all of your proxy fees.
On the under $3 menu at McDonald's, a McChicken is $2. Because when you're craving a McChicken, you deserve a McChicken. And now that McChicken is just $2 with McValue.
Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher for delivery.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.